Good morning, Math 3 students. This is your Week 5, Lesson 2, and it's all about writing trig equations from graphs. So you might be thinking, well, we've been writing a lot of trig equations, and you're right. But now this time, we are in charge of deciding if a graph is supposed to be a sine or a cosine graph. So let's take a look at just kind of our set of steps. So step 1, we've been finding the midline. That's our D parameter that we're always interested in. Then we need to find the amplitude. That's our A parameter that we're always interested in. And then part 3, how to decide if it's sine or cosine. Well, let's take a look at the midline on the y-axis. So if we have our midline marked and we look on our y-axis and we're starting on a hilltop, that's definitely a cosine function. If we're looking at the midline on the y-axis and the graph starts on the valley, that's still a cosine function, but it has a negative A parameter because it's been flipped upside down. So in the other cases then, on the midline at the y-axis, if we start right on the halfway point where we go up the hill and then down the valley, that's a sine function. The same is true if we start on the midline on the y-axis and we go down the valley first and then up the hill. This is just a negative A parameter for sine. So this time on Delta Math, these practice problems, your job will be finding all of the parts and writing out y equals A times sine or cosine of bx plus d. You'll have to type it all out. It won't just be fill in the blanks. So here on example 1, let's just take a look at what we have going on. So step 1, find the midline first. So our highest point is actually at a height of 0, and our lowest point is at -4. So the halfway would definitely be -2. -2. So I know on the end there will be a -2. Then finding the amplitude is step 2. So from our midline down to the lowest point, or from the midline up to the highest point, what is that distance or difference? And that is a value of 2. So our A parameter is 2. Now what we can look for is this sine or cosine, and is the A parameter positive or negative? So if we take a look at the midline on the y-axis, this point is starting on the hill. The graph starts on the hill at x equals 0. So I know that's a cosine function because it starts on the hilltop, and I know that it's a positive A value because it's not upside down. So I can fill in cosine, and I've got my positive 2 for my amplitude. The last piece would be working out that B parameter, figuring out the frequency piece. So from start to that very same spot, finishing up that one cycle, it's taking up the distance of pi over 2 on the x-axis. So for the B parameter, 2 pi divided by pi over 2. Sometimes that can be kind of confusing when we're trying to divide by a fraction. So this is 2 pi times the reciprocal of the fraction. So 2 pi times 2 over pi, multiplying by that reciprocal. And so the pi's cancel out, one on top and one on bottom, and this means our B parameter is 4. Our B parameter is 4. So 4 of these cycles would fit in the space of 2 pi. So how would I write this all out? Normally, if I'm not filling in the blanks, I would write y equals 2 times the cosine of 4x minus 2. So this is what you would type in to Delta Math. So take everything that we've learned over the past couple of weeks, head on over to Delta Math and try out those practice problems. Good luck out there.